Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Alyssa and I own a small crochet business called Alyssa Stitches. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you my market results from a basically 2-day market is what I'm calling it. It's run by the same people, 2 different locations, and they were on Friday and Saturday. This is actually the first week that this particular market that I do at the Crenshaw Park, they switched it to Friday nights instead of Sunday afternoons. And I absolutely love that. In Texas, it is super hot, so it is very much appreciated that we moved it to nighttime. So let's go ahead and hop right into it and get into the results. First up, we sold 2 of my squish balls. I am almost out of these finally. I'm gonna take a tiny break from them, but I want to like rebrand them or like do something different with them because they do really well for me. I just think I need like a better container for them to go in. I want to get bigger squish balls and I want to get better yarn for them because the first time I made them it was kind of an experiment, but I definitely want to like up the game on them to make them a little more valuable. But we still sold 2, so that's awesome. We also sold 4 of my small octos, 1 of my mini whales, 4 of my duck and frog hats. We sold a large duck and frog hat. I absolutely love those chunky ones. I usually only make like 1 at a time, like per market, and they do really well, so I'm really glad that I started making a larger version. I also sold a bee keychain. I don't even think I took a picture because I made it the night before the market, but it also sold and that made me really happy, which it actually sold to the girl that bought the rose from me last week. I think she bought something else from me, but I cannot remember. But I just absolutely love returning customers. I think that is just awesome. I'm really good at recognizing people, so I think that makes it that much more special that when they come up I'm like, you've been here before. I noticed you. I also sold my pink sea turtle and a sunflower turtle. I also started bringing a new item, which are these mini axolotls. I've been wanting to find like a really good tiny axolotl pattern, but some of them are very iffy and just don't look the part, but I finally found a really good one. I'm pretty sure the designer is QB Crochet. I really hope I'm right. If not, ignore what I'm saying and I'm gonna put the real person here if it's not QB Crochet, but I'm almost positive it's QB Crochet. But those did really well. I made 5 and I sold all 5 immediately, so those did really well. I also had these 2 little geese. One had a flower crown and one had like a bucket hat, and I sold both of those. I also had grad bears, and I mentioned in my last video that, or my last market recap, that I started doing a clearance bin. So since graduation season is over, I stuck them both in the clearance bin, and the one with the little like teal outline sold. I sold one of my little flower pot. I sold my white rat, so I'm out of rats. I usually only bring a gray and white each time I have a market, and the week prior I just didn't make another one, but the week prior I sold the gray one, so this one I sold the white one. Also the night before the market, along with like the bee keychain, I made a Pokeball hanger and someone bought that super quickly, so I definitely need to lock in and make more of those. I also had these little heart flower pot things that I made for my Valentine's market. They're just not that well made, so I stuck them in the clearance bin and one of them sold. I also sold one of my little bee hangers again, so I think I only have like 1 left at this point, which I'm really excited about. And then I also sold a little leggy froggy. So that was everything for the Friday market, and now moving on to the Saturday market. This market is actually usually pretty busy, but there was like a huge chance of rain, which it did rain like literally 10 minutes before we started packing up. But I think just people were so scared of the rain, and it had been raining a lot like the day before, and we're on grass at this location, so I just think people just like didn't want to come out for that because this one always brings like a really good crowd. I think we still did really well for how slow it was because we didn't even make a sale for the first like 2 hours, which is insane for me. Like I usually do really well, so I'm glad of what we did for how slow it was. But enough rambling, let's get into it because I made one of my favorite and best sells at this market. Going back to the clearance bin, I sold my little reindeer, which those are so cute and I cannot wait to make more of those. It's actually a free pattern by Wonder Crochet, but it is like the cutest little standing reindeer. And I put it in the clearance bin for 2 reasons. One, well, actually 3 reasons. One, not stuffed properly. I used to be really bad about knowing how to stuff properly, but I've gotten a lot better. So it was a little wonky. It was kind of wobbly, which I don't like. And then second, it's obviously not Christmas time, so I just wanted to put it in there for that reason. And third, I actually sewed the head on wrong, so the back of the shirt, like where the color change happens, is normally in the back, and I accidentally sewed the head on the wrong way, so the color change is in the front and it just bothers me so bad. So those are the 3 reasons it was in the clearance bin, but it still sold for $15, so I was happy with that because that's basically like 3 of the skeins from Premier, so that's totally worth it for me. Honestly, with items like that, if I could at least get like the yarn back, I'm happy about it. And obviously I did not use 3 skeins of yarn to make that reindeer. I also finally sold my last land turtle. I do like this pattern, but it just doesn't sit upright for me no matter how I stuff them. So I don't think I'm going to be making any more of them. I really like my sea turtles and they do really well. So I think I'm going to stick with just the sea turtles and not the little land turtles. I also finally sold my little pink dino with the bow on her head. I stuck that in the clearance bin because I've had them for a really long time. And like I said, I'm just trying to make room for more stuff. Then I sold one of my sea turtles. I sold 2 axolotls, which the night before I said that I sold all 5. Well, when I went home, I literally cranked out duck and frog hats because I sold out of them, and then I made 1 axolotl, and then while we were sitting there, because we were so slow at the beginning of this market, I made another one. So then I sold both of them basically back to back, so I basically sold out again of the axolotls. I sold another little bee hanger, so like I said, I think I have 1 more left. And then a little kid came up and bought a sea turtle. Well, it was actually 2 sea turtles, but they're different. One is like my normal sea turtle that I make in Sweet Snuggles Light, and the other one I make in Bernat, and it's like that tortoiseshell kind of yarn. So it just looks really cool, but that one's $5 more. But he bought both of them, and I just thought that was so sweet because I think I mentioned this in my last video, or maybe even this one, that I just really appreciate kids spending their own money on my stuff. I just find that so sweet, because I know that kids coming across money is pretty rare. And they have to like do chores or work for it, so I just think it's really nice that they want to spend their money on my stuff. I also sold another one of those clearance octos. I sold my last leggy froggy, so they are officially gone. I sold one of my regular small possums, and then my biggest sale of the day, which helped so much, but it just made me so happy because this is one of like my favorite items. It's my husband's favorite item. People always comment on it about how cool it is, but no one was ever buying it, so I was very like, is it too much? Is it like not a good color? Like, I was very like insecure about this item. I don't know why, but it finally sold, and the person that bought it was just so casual about it, and I was literally like, but it was my huge octo. This is actually the small anchor. I really want to make one of the big ones, but whenever I was reading over the pattern for the first time, I got very intimidated, and I was like, let me just make like the smaller version and see how it goes. But it's pretty simple. It's just tedious, but you know, it's very worth the payoff for what you get. But I had him up on this new rack that I got, and he came by earlier with a girl, and then when he came back he was alone, and he just was like, I have smaller octos that are similar to how that one looks, but they are on the table. And he walks in and is like, oh, I love these little octos. And I was like, thanks. And then he like turns around, grabs the big one, and is like, I'll go ahead and take this one. And I was literally like, what? I was like, are you serious? And like, he was like, is that okay? Can I buy this? And I was like, yes. I was just like, I'm just shocked that someone wants to buy it. So not only did he buy the octo, but he also bought my last laying down dragon. It was in Bernat blanket, and it was like a blue green color. Not only did he buy a huge octo, but he also bought a dragon, and that just meant so much to me about the octopus. I can't wait to make another one. I kind of want to make two, like in different colors, but we'll get there when we get there. For both markets, the results are that we made $498. We did really well on the Friday night market, but like I said, the market that was on Saturday the next day was just super slow, and I do appreciate what I did sell, but it was just really slow. But I still think that amount is really good. Like I said, for my past markets, I have not been doing that well, so I'm glad to see it picking up a little bit. But yeah, I'm just really happy about those results. That is it for this video. If you liked it, please go ahead and like and subscribe down below, and leave me a comment if you want to see any videos in the future. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!